The following program is sponsored by Happy Science.
Hello and thank you for accepting our invitation to happiness. Ryuho Okawa is a global visionary, a renowned spiritual leader, and an international best-selling author. With his deep spiritual insight, wisdom, and compassion, Okawa is committed to guide people to true happiness and create a better world. To accomplish this, he founded Happy Science Group in Japan in 1986, which has become a global movement in over 100 countries. His vision and message to the world goes beyond the differences of race and language. Together, throughout this program, we will explore ways to attain true happiness through a spiritual perspective and how to create a better world starting from within. Nowadays, we can see an alarming increase in family problems. With competition and pressure at an all-time high, it's a challenge just to keep up with society. People deal with this stress in various ways. Some people turn to faith, while others may turn to substance abuse, addictions, and even violence. Is there a connection between the increase in these problems with spiritual influences? In today's episode, we will walk you through what the spiritual explanation is behind these issues. But first, let's ask the people of New York what they think is behind substance abuse, addiction, and domestic violence in the family.
Yes, I do. I have a couple friends who have had addictions before, and it usually starts off kind of innocent, but then it can turn into a downward spiral. So I haven't seen many cases against that. It seems like it always starts kind of innocent and then ends up something much worse.
I think that anything in abuse is toxic, be it violence or drug abuse. I think that drugs and alcohol in moderation don't necessarily have to be evil or negative, but once you exacerbate those sources, it can lead to a lot of devastating effects.
I really don't know. I believe that those things come out of genetic history, that kind of thing, different neural imbalances. There's a lot of addiction in my family. I don't feel like someone's conspiring against me. I think that's just my given circumstances.
What about you? Do you think there are negative forces, like evil spirits, behind substance abuse, addictions, and domestic violence? Let's get some further insight from Okawa.
I would like to talk about family problems represented by concrete examples. However, there will be so many of them that I will not be able to talk about all of them in this lecture. Therefore, I will focus mainly on alcoholism and domestic violence issues that I have not talked much about so far, and then give my idea on various family issues. Adult children of alcoholics are people who grew up in a family with an alcoholic parent who was physically violent, unable to keep a stable job, or had mammoth debt. Adults who were brought up in such a devastating environment where they do not feel safe and protected usually have certain problems. These people are unaware of why they are facing such problems, but if they reflect on their past, they would realize that the root of the issue stems from problems in their family during their childhood. Unless they reflect back and improve their mindset entirely, they will not be saved. Of course, there are other addictions in addition to this. It may sound surprising, but workaholics can also lead to family breakdown. Debt problems and gambling can cause problems in the family too. Moreover, there are many people who are addicted to sex and are frantic about the opposite sex. Such problems of addiction leading to personality disintegration or family dysfunctions are considered as subject matters in psychiatry. But this is quite frankly associated with religion. This is nothing but attachment taught in Buddhism. Attachment is a state in which a person is deeply obsessed with something, unable to be free of it. From my experience, I grew even more intolerant to alcohol after I attained my spiritual power. I have never been a heavy drinker, but I became very sensitive to alcohol, and it makes me unable to summon high spirits. They would not enter my body and speak through me. This may be one reason why religions traditionally prohibit drinking alcohol. It enables evil spirits to possess you easily and cause high spirits to avoid you. This also means that you cannot practice spiritual concentration and that your brain does not function properly. There are situations where individuals' personalities suddenly change, where they would start yelling gibberish after drinking alcohol, but do not recall acting in such a way. In this kind of situation, they are usually possessed. Therefore, their personality changes. When the rational side weakens, it becomes very easy for such people to get possessed by spirits, and those spirits actually talk using their body. The negative side of their personalities will suddenly come to light. They might start speaking rudely, start muttering strange words, or start behaving violently. We can see that alcohol can make one an instant psychic. The difficult issue is that there are people who can constitutionally drink and people who cannot. But ultimately, the problem has very much to do with our ability to control through willpower. Adult children, children who grew up in families with alcoholics, I mentioned earlier today, surprisingly enough, about 50 to 60% of the daughters from these families end up marrying alcoholics, in spite of the fact that they strongly wish not to become like their parents. They end up marrying someone just like their parents. Many people who have witnessed tragic situations involving alcohol when they were small would suffer from depression and suicide attempts, or even if they come to have their own families one day, they tend to go through similar family breakdowns. Hence, it is crucial to be able to analyze the root of the problem. Knowledge is power. So once we understand the cause, we will be able to control ourselves to a certain extent. Children who grow up in a dysfunctional family go through a lot more shock and trauma than others. Watching their own parents drinking, beating, and abusing or chasing each other with knives in their hands will certainly change a child's view on life. This kind of atmosphere at home creates a family secret that children do not want to share with their friends. With time, this becomes a cover or a protective shield over their hearts. As a result, some children become completely rebellious and turn to juvenile delinquency. Some attempt suicide at a young age by cutting their wrists. Some get involved with gangs, and some will get thinner poisoning. In this way, there are children who become juvenile delinquents, while there are others who do not. For children who do not, they lead an extremely distressful childhood. Although the term adult children does not refer to children, but to adults who are raised in an alcoholic family, the word is often misunderstood to refer to children. One of the reasons for this misunderstanding comes from the fact that children often take on the role of an adult in the family from a very young age. The eldest son may try to protect his mother from a drunk and violent father, or the eldest daughter may try to be the peacemaker when the mother's drunkenness causes continual fighting with the father. They spend an exhausting childhood full of worries. There are cases where the highly responsible child will make heroic efforts to support the family, while there are other cases in which a child becomes a mediator or a peacemaker. There are also those who act as clowns. These children will attempt to use humor or try to be funny to create a buffer by making the family laugh. On the other hand, another type of child becomes completely detached or apathetic. Children take various countermeasures to survive in a collapsing family. Another case is children who become sick or become troublemakers. By committing a crime or taking negative actions, they try to attract their parents' attention and patch up the breakdown in the family. Children raised in dysfunctional families have such extreme life experiences compared to other children. For this reason, they will either push themselves so hard to be like heroes or feel beaten early in life and have a deep sense of failure. Both are possible. People raised in such dysfunctional households have deep emotional wounds. Those wounds manifest in their adulthood and cause many problems. The root of these problems lie in their childhood, so unless they confront the roots, their issues will never be resolved completely. Other than alcoholism and domestic violence, there are many reports of sexual abuse within the home. A person who commits numerous acts of violence and sexual abuse is most likely to be possessed by many different evil spirits. They are becoming utterly insane. Generally speaking, our families and the schools we attend nurtures us. The influence from each is probably about 50-50. Knowledge, career training, and technical skills are mostly acquired at school. In regard to the view of life, it is established at home. Children learn by watching their parents. Hence, if children are raised in a sexually abusive home, they will feel extremely negative and pessimistic towards marriage itself. Even after marriage, they do not know what to do as a parent. One thing they know what to do is not to be like their parents. In case of a daughter who was raised in a dysfunctional home, she would have trouble knowing how to be a mother when she has her own child. It has been reported that some will repeatedly ask her child, "Do you love me?" They do not know how to behave like an adult or how to become a good parent. They lack confidence because they had no model that served as their teacher. The underlying reason for these problems is caused by spiritual possession within the family. This is an area that the doctors cannot fix. Firstly, it cannot be solved unless one's view on life is rebuilt in accordance with Buddha's truth. Since our actions are something that stem from our knowledge and thoughts, only trying to fix and change the action itself will be a struggle. It's impossible. The first step is to gain the right view of life.
As you can see, a lot of the problems we faced in our adolescence are similar to the problems we face now. Dealing with unresolved and unhealed wounds with addictions and violence only makes us all the more vulnerable to negative spiritual influences. However, not only can we regain the control of our lives, but we have the power to rebuild it. Having an understanding in spiritual truth will not only help to protect our families against negativity, but it changes the way we see, think, and feel about our past. Our behaviors change when our mindset changes. Let's hear more about living a life of spiritual truth from Okawa.
In addition, some parents have a strong desire to control their children. They feel this way because they gave birth to those children. These children who have controlling parents also become adult children. Children who do not have a safe space within their homes and who were raised in a dysfunctional family become adult children. Therefore, researchers on the term adult children has been expanded to include not only those who were raised by alcoholic parents, but also adults who were raised in dysfunctional families without a place where they felt safe. From a religious perspective, the themes would be the problems of growing up in a spiritually possessed family and how people can deal with life problems after suffering in a spiritually possessed home in their childhood. If these are not dealt with appropriately, those people can become depressed, commit suicide, fail in a career, marriage, raising children, or create the same type of home that they grew up in. This situation of recreating the past seems to be occurring continuously. From a spiritual perspective, there are also cases where children inherit the evil spirits that possess their parents. When parents are extremely insane, they are usually possessed by several spirits, not just one. As there is a pathway created between the parents and those spirits, they are always at home and gradually affects the children. If children are displaying extreme behavior such as criminal acts, violence, or using abusive language from a young age, there is a possibility that they already inherited the possessing spirits from their parents. As a matter of course, such children will not be able to have a normal, healthy lives when they grow up. If they are possessed, they will tend to marry people who are possessed by the same type of evil spirits. There may even be cases where people are guided into marriage not by their guardian spirits, but by evil spirits. Sadly, they become attracted to those who have the same destructive tendencies as their parents. I have heard that tendencies of carnal desire and lust are also hereditary, but this is also spiritually passed down from generation to generation. In this regard, there are many families that are colonized and stationed by evil spirits. Ultimately, the only way to solve these problems is to receive the higher power and help from God or Buddha in heaven. Such power can become an opportunity for us to get back on the right track. People wish to be helped, wanting and waiting to be saved, but they have already developed so much distrust towards other people that everybody seems wicked. Hence, I believe we all essentially need to combat this with faith. If we are able to connect with high spirits of greater power through faith, our guardian spirits can finally return to our home and give us guidance. Along with the issue of adult children, the problem of depersonalization often occurs in those who grew up in dysfunctional families. Depersonalization is a state where you are detached from yourself, looking at yourself from outside of your own body, and no longer feeling as if you are yourself. This feeling does not subside even if they become adults. These people feel as if they are watching themselves from afar, like watching a scene in a movie, although they are being physically abused. To me, this makes a lot of sense. The human body and the soul are connected by a silver cord, and they are usually united as one. However, in a family where evil spirits have been continuously possessing its members, oftentimes, various spiritual possessions are going on as well. For this reason, a person's soul can be thrown out of the physical body. The soul will leave the body and other spirits will enter it. People who grew up in dysfunctional families tend to have a very low self-image. They tend to be self-abusive and lack confidence in anything they do. They also have the tendency to become easily depressed, experience more failure, and easily lose the motivation to bounce back from difficulties. The first thing to do to combat the problem here is to establish firm faith. This is rather similar to signing a contract with a security company. Faith is a type of contract stating that you are on the side of Buddha, God, and high spirits. Through this, you will have strong defenders. This is why establishing faith is the first thing the members of dysfunctional families should do. The next step, needless to say, is to explore the right way of thinking based on Buddha's truth. Practicing the exploration of the right mind is a crucial necessity. In a dysfunctional family, right views on life has been lost and the parents are unable to teach these right views. On a basic level, these people have usually developed great distrust towards others. Hence, first and foremost, it is important to regain the right view. It is crucial to establish right view of life based on right faith. It is important to create a spiritual condition that is in tune with the vibrations of the heavenly world by reading the books or DVDs of truth over and over again. Accumulating this process will eventually lead them to be uninterested with or feel awed with things that go against the truth. They will need to develop the capability needed to do these things. The first thing to do in rebuilding their lives is to establish the right view and to reflect on their past. Religiously speaking, one can rebuild his or her life by simply taking another look and reconsidering one's life purpose and mission based on the spiritual view of life or religious perspective of happy science. Why were you born into this type of family? There has to be some assignment you were given here. If you think about this from your own shoes, before you were even born, you will find that this is not a coincidence. You were born into this world for a reason. There is definitely a spiritual connection with your parents. However, you must not torture yourself by thinking that everything is your fault. There's no need to blame yourself, since there was not much you could do as a child. Instead, it is important to contemplate on why you chose this life and what you are trying to learn from this experience. Do not simply be repulsed thinking you do not want to become like your parents. Rather, re-examine your family as a part of your lesson in life. By having a spiritual view of life and through studying the truth enough, you will be able to establish a home totally different from that of your parents. If they see that you're raising your children in a different way and creating a different parent-child relationship, your parents will start reflecting on themselves. Self-reflection practiced before death has tremendous effect, and it is 10 times more effective. This is because self-reflection while still alive is very difficult to do. Self-reflection after death usually takes 10 times longer than it is done when alive. If your parents are able to practice it or enter the path of truth while they are alive, the spiritual merit will be immense. Rather, we need to think of accepting the dark parts of life and transform them and change them into light. It is much better to think this way.
In order to break away from the vicious cycle of negative spiritual possession, we need to establish faith in God. This is like signing a contract with a home security company. You'll be monitored and protected around the clock. There is not one evil spirit that can withstand God. Therefore, becoming one with God is the most important step in rebuilding your life. Once you are connected with the higher power through faith, you can renew your self-confidence and open a new path in life. Life is an eternal training ground full of lessons to be learned. And even if we aren't blessed with perfect parents, there is always something to be grateful for. We can thank them for being great teachers, teaching us vital lessons and preparing us for the world. Just like day and night, life has both times of light and darkness. Although we can't erase the darkness, we can certainly embrace it with light. Please remember that there is no night without dawn. At Happy Science, you can listen to Okawa's other lectures related to today's topic. We also offer ritual prayers, such as prayer for exorcising evil spirits, prayer for harmony at home, prayer for raising children, and others. We are here to support you in attaining happiness in life. Please contact a Happy Science location near you.
If you'd like to learn more about Okawa and the teachings of Happy Science, visit invitationtohappiness.org or call us at 1-800-710-7777. Here at New York Temple, you will find all of Okawa's publications and video lectures. We are here to support you in building a bright future. Come join us for weekly Sunday workshops and weekday guided meditation sessions. Your happiness is our mission. For more information on upcoming events, go to invitationtohappiness.org or call us at 1-800-710-7777.
Once again, thank you for accepting our invitation to happiness. Join us next week as we continue on our journey to happiness with the topic, How to Achieve True Success. See you next time. We are all searching for answers to life's questions. The Laws of the Sun is an uplifting guide to spiritual awakening. Self-discovery begins with every page.
If you're in another religion and you're open-minded and you're curious about what other people practice, this would be a fantastic book to read because it doesn't discount anybody, it embraces everybody, and it gets to the truth. My favorite part of the book was the discussion on love, the different levels of love and how to give and receive love properly. And it releases and enlightens you because even sometimes you don't realize that when you're loving someone, you know, there's a part of you that expects something back in a subconscious way, and it kind of opened my eyes to that isn't the right way to look at love. And so it just kind of, oh, okay, so it just removed all the animosity, or if you're ever bothered by, oh, well, I did that and someone else didn't reciprocate, well, it doesn't matter anymore. It's real easy to get past that wanting anything in return, which is the true meaning of love that he's trying to express and teach. If you like answers to your life questions that are most mystical, you will love The Laws of the Sun.
The preceding program was sponsored by Happy Science.